Hello and welcome to Teach Online TV. My name is Tyler Basu and I am coming to you live from Vancouver, Thinkific's headquarters, and I have a special guest today. His name is Austin Iuliano, joining me from Los Angeles, California, if I'm not mistaken. And Austin is a entrepreneur, online course creator, social media marketing expert, consultant, Snapchat consultant more recently as well. And so we're going to be talking about his journey in creating courses and also how he's been using social media and other methods to spread the word and promote his courses. So Austin, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you.
Pleasure to be here. I'm super excited to do this.
Right on. Now I gave away just a little bit of your story there, but if you could just take us back to how you got into this online marketing world in the first place, and how did you get into creating courses?
So I got into creating courses. I'm going to jump around a little bit, but it'll make sense. Originally, we created our first online course when Thinkific wasn't even around. The only real solution was Optimized Press, and we created a online ebook workshop course thing, going through branding, because my partner and I were running a branding agency, not the websites or the logos, that was a part of it, but really this strategy, which most people didn't have, especially the small businesses. So we created a series of questions through our consulting that we were doing with these small businesses to help them do it themselves and come up with their own brand strategy. It was called the Branding Blueprint. It went relatively well. We sold like 200 units back in the day, which isn't phenomenal, but isn't anything to scoff at. And it was the first time we really opened our eyes to, hey, we can leverage our time instead of, doing this one-on-one. We could do it en masse and basically create a passive revenue stream, or a relatively passive revenue stream, that if a client couldn't afford $2,000 to $5,000 to pay us for consulting, and they're like, oh, we really have like $500, well, we have a solution for them that they could get and they could go through it, which was a great downsell. Later on, at the time, I didn't know that was the terminology. Like, you have your upsells and your downsells in your marketing funnel. It was just like, oh, you can't do this? Well, here's this other product we have. Before that, our agency started up because it was just graphic design and then marketing, and then people asking us, how can you help us with marketing? We really need help. And we got into social media because that was much more powerful than $1,000 in a full page print ad in the local newspaper for 10,000 impressions. And from there, we've just built up. So now it's not just ebooks in our courses. We do audio, we do visual, we have interactive workbooks. And one of the things I recommend for anybody who's looking to get into the online course creation world is to buy lots of courses. Because when we started getting into this, we started, going through these courses, learning ourselves, and we'd spend $2,000 on a course. And it was basically a slide share with just the words that they were saying to us and talking in some pretty generic terms. And I was like, this is not helpful, nor is this, fun to consume. So we looked at that and went, how do we make this better? How do we make something we would want to consume as users? Because if we want to consume it and it's the way we enjoy it, then other people are also going to enjoy it too. So we thought about it, and we're like, when we're using these online courses, we're listening and probably working at the same time. Because if it's an audio or a video, chances are I don't actually need to watch the video unless you're showing me something really important on screen. Otherwise, if it's like strategy, I can listen to that as I'm sending emails out or whatever I need to do. So that's how we got into it. I don't want to ramble too much because I know you have more poignant questions.
No, that was good. So you started when you created your first course, it was really just out of a need to provide an alternative to working with you one-on-one in a consulting capacity. Not everyone that you approached could afford consulting, so you put together some training and you were able to sell that. And that first course was, did you say an ebook or text only? What was the format of the content in that first course?
It was 9 or 10 workbooks, but they were all ebooks. So it was generally speaking, here's a question, here's a section for you to write your answer. And the way it worked is each question led into the next one, because in consulting, you don't let's talk about a vision statement. Everybody knows what a vision statement is. You can't say, what is your vision statement right here? People are going to go, well, I don't know. So you have to ask questions that lead them into it. And it's like, okay, after 6 questions of you building different components, now write your vision statement. And people are like, oh, this is really easy because like it leads me into it. So in our consulting, we were doing this. These were the exact same questions we used, the exact same formula. It was just, hey, one, we needed something for ourselves, so our clients could go through it in paper and pencil right in front of us, and it helps us like stay on the same page. But then we also were like, hey, we can sell this on its own, because this is where the value is. You don't really need us to do the work for you. We're just asking you the questions. You're the one coming up with the answers. Yeah. And so this was also prior to the time where video and audio was easy to disseminate. YouTube was just starting up, and it was really hard to lock down videos so that way people couldn't just like Google like, oh, now I have all your videos and I don't have to pay for it. So it was all ebooks. That's what we could do, and we just built from there.
Right. Okay. And you mentioned that you've taken a lot of online courses, and that's part of the way that you've been able to learn which forms, which types of media, which types of content and lessons, the way things are put together, which ones you like, which ones are great for your learning style, and you've experimented with different types of content for you to offer your students. So I'm just curious, how has your course creation process evolved since that first, workbook style course? What kind of things can people expect in your courses today? Is it video? Is it sharing your screen? Like, what kinds of content are in your courses?
Sure. So the course creation process is now much faster because we've been doing it for so long. But it really depends on what is the best way to deliver the information. To give you an example, I have a Snapchat course that is doing extremely well. One of the biggest challenges with Snapchat is learning the interface. Most people don't understand it. It's very confusing. So I could potentially share the screen and show you through a screen share what I'm doing. And I did that, but you don't necessarily get to see all the little minutiae. So I had my partner sit over my shoulder, and I held my phone, and I showed exactly where I was touching, swiping, and doing different things. And you could see my perspective of what's going on in Snapchat. People absolutely loved it because they felt they were right there next to me watching what I was doing, and it was really easy to learn because like all videos, you can pause them, you can rewind, you can go forward. And we broke it down. Instead of going through the entire interface in one video, we would do a section of the interface and we would label it. So if somebody was like, oh, I really want to know how to do this, there's a video they can go through. And I love that when I was taking certain courses, and I hated it when it wasn't there. Like I was like, I really want to know, how do I, when I was first starting out, how do I set up a Facebook retargeting pixel, right? And I know I can get that from a blog article nowadays, but when I had to watch a video for 30 minutes to finally get to that little tiny section I needed, I was like, come on, you're wasting my time.
Yeah.
Organization is extremely helpful. The other things we did is anything that's strategy oriented, we didn't like when people were sitting on basically a big white wall like this and became a talking head. So we made sure we went to really nicely designed studios because it's just more fun to consume when there's something going on there. It's visually appealing, like your background is with the wood. It's very visually appealing. We did question and answers in our social media course because I get the same questions always when it comes to social media. So it was just, here's the question, now here's the answer. So people could go through and find exactly the content they need. So it's audio, it's video, it's tutorials, screen shares if I'm showing somebody exactly where to go on, say, a Facebook on their desktop or something like that, and it's workbooks. So it's everything.
No, that's great. I can see that there's a lot of intention behind, your choice of content, whether it's video or even what kind of video, audio, text, and so on. You're really thinking about what is the best way for me to teach this specific concept to the student, and not just give them good content, but give them the content in a way that they actually enjoy consuming it. And you mentioned the importance of bite-sized content as well. I mean, I wouldn't want to spend 30 minutes just to get to that 1 minute part that gives me what I was looking for. I would much rather have a course broken up into shorter videos, and I can easily just find the specific thing that I want to learn within minutes, So I'm glad that I can see the evolution of the journey here. Now, at what point, because I know that today you've got your courses on Thinkific, but you got into this space before we even, had this platform to offer you. So at what point did you start looking for platforms to build your online school, essentially, and what made you decide Thinkific when you did come across us?
Sure. So you guys weren't around, which was very sad and disappointing. When we first started looking, we went with Optimized Press, which is a WordPress plugin, and it's about $100 a year, and you can build your entire membership site. And in full disclosure, it's still a fantastic option if that's the way you want to go. If you want to build a membership site, you want to have full control of everything, it's a great platform. But the downside to it is, one, I'm not a designer or a coder, so anything that requires that takes a lot more time for me, and it really just starts making me rip my hair out. Two, so Optimized Press, it's tricky to protect your content, and one of the things we wanted to do is when we were making our courses, make sure we pick up websites with the URL of the website. So my Snapchat course, for instance, is called Snapchat Mastery. So if you Google snapchatmastery.com, you can get to a website dedicated to that course, mostly for the SEO purposes and to protect it. We can build things out later, but we wanted to be able to quickly create websites that are optimized and branded for each course. We liked that. We thought it made it really special interacting with something like that. So Optimized Press was a little bit hard because you would have to build multiple websites. It's a little sluggish. It slows down your website. And then the next thing we saw was Gumroad, because Pat Flynn recommended it. And we thought Gumroad was fantastic. It's a great little tool to use, but it really works best for ebooks and smaller products, not necessarily whole digital courses, because there's no membership site to it. They would have to download all the videos, which the user doesn't like. So then there's Kajabi we looked at, which, that was the very first kind of program out there like you guys. There was Teachable, and then Thinkific. And we were kind of going between all of them, trying to figure out which one we wanted to use. We were leaning towards Teachable until we saw Thinkific. Teachable had this really nice, clean user interface, and it looked perfect. But the thing is, they held on to our money for 2 weeks, whereas Thinkific is pretty much the same thing as Teachable, but we get our money in 2 days. And for marketers, this is really important to us because of cash flow. If we're putting money into Facebook advertising and making sales, we don't want to wait 2 weeks to be able to reinfuse that money for a launch that we're doing and push and make more sales. So the quick turnaround on payout was great for us.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. And so I'd like to talk about marketing a little bit, because I mean, as you know, a lot of course creators, they've got an area of expertise. That's why they created a course. There's something that they're able to teach others, but they're not necessarily marketers, and specifically online marketers. Because I mean, when your course is online, your students are online as well. They can be from anywhere in the world. So we got to find a way to reach them and tell them about our course. You've done some pretty good things with social media. Has that been your preferred way of spreading the word about your courses, or what are some of your favorite marketing strategies?
My favorite marketing strategies is letting other people sell it for me, which is great. And I'll get into kind of how to do that later. But social media has been my best because it works into my strengths. And I think the thing we have to realize is, if you're an online course creator, you are a marketer and an entrepreneur, but there are many different ways to market your online course. It really just plays into what's your strength. If you are actually really great at blogging and your course is on blogging, you better crush it at blogging, drive tons of traffic through content marketing, and also really look at SEO, search engine optimization, because that's how blogs get a ton of their traffic. That or Pinterest. Those are the two ways blogs really get organic traffic. So if that is your area of expertise, don't worry about social media. Like, seriously, don't even touch it, because put all your time and energy into optimizing for search engine optimization or optimizing for Pinterest organic traffic, and then just kill it in that department. If you are really great at business development and you just know how to make win-win situations for everybody, well, maybe you should be doing joint ventures and doing launches with affiliates and things like that. That is a whole mechanism on its own, and it's extremely effective. There's many people who blew up their online courses or their products because they found 15 to 100 people who have decent sized lists, do a bunch of joint ventures, and there you go. You have a massive list of 100,000. For me, it's been social media because the way I approach social media is very simple. Depth over width. Focus on building relationships with the people you're talking about, and that will get you everything you need. You will find the partners who can help promote you. You will make the sales. You will contact the influencers who will then join you in your endeavor. So social media just happens to work for me. So that's the way I use.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I know one thing about you and that you're really good at is using social media in the right way. Like, you're using it to actually be social and build relationships. And I think you mentioned this before, that you're sparking conversations with people on a daily basis. It's just part of what you do every day. You want to make sure you're talking to people. So can you just talk to us a little bit about what that's done for you? What is consistently reaching out to people, being helpful, building relationships done for your business, and why is that something that you've chose to focus on?
Sure. So one of the things I've noticed is in my interactions with any sort of business owner, if you reach out to them, generally speaking, their first thought is either, what the heck do you want me to buy? What are you trying to sell to me? What is your pitch? Why are you wasting my time? Right? Like, we are busy, so we're not really open. We're all open to some degree, and I'm making a broad general statement, so please don't hate me, everyone. But generally speaking, we think anybody who's reaching out to us has an agenda. They're trying to sell to us. They're trying to get us to do something, which is pretty accurate. Like, the reason you're on social media talking to people is because in the end, you're hoping to make more sales, make more business. So what I have found is when I approach people and I start not by how can I sell to you, how can I have a conversation, i.e., open up something so that way I can slip my pitch in and very sneakily. Instead, if you just go, hey, what's your business? How can I help you? Who can I bring a referral to? How can I bring value to you, right? Nothing about me, but how can I bring value to you? It changes the dynamic of the conversation. Very quickly, people say exactly what they do, which your brain is already going to start connecting the dots of how it can help you, but you don't ever say it. They're going to say what their challenges are, who they can get connected to. And if you reach out to 5 to 20 people a day, right? And what I mean by reaching out is you send a message on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram, hey, we've been talking for a while. I'd love to learn more about you. Let's jump on a quick Skype call, 15 minutes, just for networking, a virtual coffee, right? I'm just looking to learn more about you, right? People will get on. If you reach out to 5 to 20, you might get, if you do this every single day, you might get 5 virtual coffees a week if you're very low at this and not super comfortable. But what ends up happening is, let's say you get 5 of these virtual coffees. You'll start talking to the first person and they'll tell you all about themselves, and then they're going to do one thing. They're going to go, so let me learn about you. How can I help you, right? And this is your time. They're asking to talk about you. So this is where you get to step up and you go, this is what I do, and this is how you can help me. Now, most people, when they go to ask for help, they go, this is my client that I need, so get me this client. Like, this is who I'm looking for. There's a very small segment of the population who's actually going to be your clients, about 20%. The other 80% are people who can help you in a different way, and if you know how to utilize them, it works much better. And that other 80% can help you with distribution. So instead of me going, this is who my client is, this is like how you can help me. Of course, I say that just in case they happen to know somebody. But I say, I'm always looking for podcasters, interviews like this, people connected to columnists at Forbes, Entrepreneur, Huffington Post, places where there's massive distribution, because I want to build relationships with those people, because then I get to sell to their audience by just showing my value. And people go, oh, that's brilliant, because you're not trying to sell to that individual person who happened to take a chance and do a 15-minute phone conversation. Instead, you're building a relationship with them to get introduced to somebody they know who can propel you even further. It's a little bit of a long-term game, but it will absolutely change your business. If you just reach out every single day to 5 to 20 people through one social media, in a matter of 2 to 3 months, your sales funnel will be 100% full. You don't have to spend a penny on advertising.
That's awesome. And I think it's important to recognize that, yeah, this is a long-term approach. Don't do it for 1 week and then expect your whole business to turn around. Do it consistently for a few months. Really add value to those relationships, and then you'll see the law of reciprocity kicks in, and people start sending business your way because they feel like they should repay you for being so helpful, right?
Yeah, and the other thing too that is really interesting, and I found this personally for me, and other people who I consult have found this out too, is when you start listening to people about how you can bring them referrals, you'll have your first conversation, your second conversation. By your fifth or sixth conversation, there's somebody you just spoke to who needs the first or second person. So you go, do you happen to know this person? And they're like, no. And then you facilitate an introduction. John, this is Sam. John does this, Sam does this. You guys both have expressed interest in needing this sort of thing. I believe you guys would be a perfect fit, and I'll let you guys take it from there. And all of a sudden, they start making some crazy cool moves in their respective businesses, and they turn around and they go, thank you so much for facilitating that introduction. And now they feel almost indebted to you because they're like, wow, this person really helped me land that deal or get further in life. That person is awesome. I want to help them out. They want to help you instead of feeling forced, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great advice. What would you say has been one of the biggest challenges for you as an online entrepreneur and as an online course creator? And if somebody else, is facing some of those same challenges, what would you say to them?
The biggest challenge was marketing. And even though I'm a marketer and this is what I'm good at, learning how to effectively market, and in particular, all the different pieces of the puzzle in the online course creation world is crazy. Because it's not just you create your course on something like Thinkific and then you're done. You have to find all the ways to get it out there and also nurture those relationships. Because statistically speaking, there's only 2% of all your website traffic is ever ready to buy. The other 98% is just gathering information, trying to make the right decision. So we understand, a lot of us, the concept of an opt-in offer, right? You offer something like an ebook or a little mini series in exchange for a name and email address to do email marketing and nurture those relationships. So you have to lock in what your opt-in offer is and what converts the best. We have now found opt-in offers that convert at 75% because we've taken the time to test and try different things, try different wording, but that takes time. You're not going to get that the first time. And then building your email series and having that email series have a high open rate. And for us, we've had a consistent open rate of around 30 to 40% in our email marketing. And that, again, is because we've taken the time to learn about our customers and try different emails and see what works, what doesn't work. Finding the way to consistently get those opt-ins, whether it's content marketing, advertising through something like Facebook or Pinterest or Twitter or Google pay-per-click, doing joint ventures. That's a whole nother mechanism all on its own. And then from there, it's, okay, how do you actually make that sale? Are you going to bring them to a webinar and do a sale on a webinar? Are you going to do direct response copy and send them to a giant landing page? What makes the most sense? How do you qualify if they're actually interested? Building something, digital marketer calls it a tripwire. It's a small $7 to $10 product that changes them from somebody who got their free offer to somebody who's paid you money. You know, there's so many different aspects of marketing. That is definitely the most challenging aspect. But what I would say to anybody here is don't freak out. You will figure it out in time. Take one thing, which should be your content, and make the very best piece of content you possibly can. Make it so good, 10 times better than anybody else. Make it so that other people start talking about it. Then you're on a really great place, because as soon as other people start talking about it, they're going to start doing some of the marketing for you. And then from there, just find people who have a bit of a voice, who have a little bit of an audience. And what I did for like my courses is I found podcasters. I found these people with the distribution networks, and I said, hey, are you on, for like instance, Snapchat? Are you on Snapchat? They're like, nah, I'm not really feeling it, X, Y, and Z. And I go, let me make a deal with you. I will give you access to this. It is the best A to Z Snapchat course. And if you do not find value in it, no worries, you keep it, whatever. But if you watch it, you love it, then I would love to come on to your show and talk to you and your audience on how to use Snapchat. And of course, I want to be able to sell this. And if they have a really big audience, I'll even give them an affiliate to it, so we both make money. And what I'm trying to do here is, obviously I'm trying to sell, like, say, my Snapchat course, but I'm trying to make it a no-brainer where they start raving about the product itself on their podcast, because they have the trust of their audience. It's not just somebody coming on, it's somebody who loves it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a great approach. Now, on the topic of Snapchat, because I know you've got a course on Snapchat, and you've established a presence, and you've on many social media platforms. But just out of curiosity, why did you choose to get in to spend time on Snapchat, and what's the objective there? Because I know that a lot of people think that Snapchat is just being used by teenagers. So as business owners, as online course creators, how can we reach our target audience? How do we know if they're on Snapchat, or how do we know whether or not Snapchat is something that we should be spending our time on?
Sure. So this is a few questions. One, I got on Snapchat mostly because it was fun at the time, and I just started doing silly things because it wasn't considered a business thing. It was a place I can just unleash my inner silliness. And I am a strange person. Like, in full disclosure, I regularly dress up in a giant unicorn costume, shark costume, Super Mario costume, Little Mermaid costume, dance around, be an idiot, and have fun, because it makes my audience laugh. And that's all I care about. I'm not trying to sell anything. I enjoy having fun, so I do that. I happened to gain an audience on that platform because I was doing that, on top of also teaching on a regular basis, hey, this is how you do different functions. And I created this course because I was being asked so much on all these different aspects that it just made sense. Plus, I had the background of online course creation. Now, to answer the question of whether or not you should be on Snapchat, it really depends who your audience is. Yes, the millennials, the teens, the tweens are on Snapchat, but more and more, the older generations are on Snapchat. And it's kind of weird for me to say this, but I'm 29. I'm almost 30. I'm not a kid anymore, and I'm still on Snapchat. There's many 30-plus-year-olds on Snapchat talking to their kids. So it is a platform for your business to be on, especially if you want to hit that younger demographic. And the way you find the people who are in your demographic is you start collaborating with other Snapchat users. So if I wanted to access more of Thinkific's online course creators world, what I would do is something called a Snapchat takeover, maybe with Thinkific's account, where I go onto their account, I create a stellar piece of content. It's called a story. It's multiple snaps lined up in a row, teaching probably how to use Snapchat to sell. because that would be Thinkific's audience. Thinkific would come onto my platform and do something similar, so they would be able to get some of my audience. Now we've both doubled our audience, and we get to find more people to collaborate with. So it's called a takeover. It's one of the best mechanisms to use, but that is just one of many ways to find your target audience. But Snapchat is really about communication. So if you want to have a really highly valuable, high touch point with your audience, Snapchat is killer, because while you might make a story, the people who respond to you are responding to you because they want to talk to you. Whereas if it's on like Twitter or Instagram, there's a community there that like everybody gets to see it. Whereas Snapchat, it's just a one-on-one conversation. So that's a great touch point to be able to flip open your phone, do a video message to them, answer their question, bring them tons of value where they go, oh my God, this is amazing. And it works extremely well because all it is building relationships in scale.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Thanks for clarifying. Now, as you know, a lot of the people who are going to watch this interview, Thinkific's audience, are course creators, but many of them are still in the process of going from idea to creating their course. They haven't created their course yet. They haven't launched it yet. They're still thinking of doing it or just getting started. So if we could just help inspire them and motivate them a little bit here, what kind of an impact has you making online courses and sharing your knowledge with other people around the world, what kind of an impact has that made on your life since you started doing that?
It's made a huge impact because we all talk about this idea of thought leadership, of actually being a leader. And the easiest way to be a leader or to learn something is to start teaching others how to do it. Because when we have to teach somebody else the skill sets that we know or we are learning, it just solidifies it in our brain. And then on top of that, when you create your first course and you start getting it out there, granted, let me caveat this and say, you probably are going to fail on your first one, and that's okay. So many of us are afraid of failing, but like, it is the best thing. If you create a course and you don't put a ton of time and energy into it, but you're like, let me just get something out there, even if it's a series of ebooks like we did, and it fails, that's okay. Then you just make it better. You go for the next one and the next one and the next one, and you just keep learning on how to do it better. You will eventually make something that wins. The thing is, I got a few thoughts going on here. Creating online courses doesn't take that much in resources. It just takes time and energy, and we all have a lot of time and energy, and you get better at it. Once you finally create that course that is a win, you're going to make up so much more of that revenue, that lost time, because you don't have to spend your time and energy teaching people one by one. So I would say if you are hesitant to do it, just get out there and start making your first online course. Even if you're not sure exactly what to make, ask your audience. If you don't have an audience, pick a subject you love and just start talking about it and teaching. You don't actually have to create an online course right away. You could create blog articles or a YouTube series or something like that to test the market. Give out that free content, see if people respond to it. And then when you finally have that audience, ask them, go, what is it you want to know? What is the challenge you're having? Like, I'm here to serve you, but the only way I can serve you is if you let me know what you need help with. And you will learn how to create that course pretty easily. You'll get all those other aspects you need to fall into place. It's more just a mental thing that is blocking us. Like, I am scared of getting out there. I'm scared of making something and it failing. I'm scared of making something and it succeeding, and now I'm in the spotlight. Like, that stuff is the thing you really need to overcome.
Mm-hmm. Okay. No, that's great advice. Well, Austin, thank you so much. You've shared, you've shared a ton of great advice for our audience here today, and it was nice to learn a bit more about your journey. Now, if we want to send people to get in touch with you or learn more about your courses, where is the best place that we can direct them?
Sure. So I have two websites for you. If you want to learn more about marketing, social media, all my courses, go to D as in David, the word science, SCIENCE.co. It's our blog. We share tons of free resources, and we also have our membership sites because it's a Thinkific site with all our courses on social media, branding, and different social medias and branding. Basically, that's what we do. If you want to get in touch with me personally, it's my name, Austin, AustinIuliano, on any social media, or austinuliano.com.
Perfect. Well, Austin, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Got this done. I'm super excited.
Cool, man.